You know, there are some places in the United States that are pretty scary. They're very dangerous. I mean, we've got crime going on everywhere. Watch the news, get on the internet. You'll see we're surrounded by violence. But the thing about it is, what's going on here in the good old USA is nothing compared to what's going on in some other countries. There are places on this planet where the United States government official stance is, don't go there. Not a suggestion, just don't go there. That's what they're telling you. Today we're looking at those countries. These are countries that are so scary, you hope you're gonna run into Jason Voorhees just to, get a hug. Maybe feel a little more safe if he's there. Let's take a look. Number 15, South Sudan. South Sudan is one of the youngest countries on earth. It gained independence in 2011, which sounds hopeful until you realize it spent most of that time fighting itself, sort of proving this was a really bad idea. This isn't one long war either. It's a rotating cast of conflicts, militias, and power struggles that never really settled down. This is a country that was once occupied by Egypt under the Muhammad Ali dynasty. Oh wait, that might be someone else because they gained their independence from the Muhammad Ali dynasty back when Muhammad Ali the boxer was 11. I was gonna say multitasker. Now the danger here isn't just there's violence. It's that the violence is unpredictable. One region might feel calm, then suddenly you've got clashes between small armed groups, road ambushes, and entire villages getting caught up in the middle of something they didn't even start. They're just trying to watch the final episode of The Masked Singer. Crime is another layer here. Carjacking, robberies, kidnapping. These aren't just rare headlines. These are part of the daily life in certain areas. And the worst part, the government doesn't have full control over the country, so protection is, let's call it, aspirational. Healthcare here is basically a coin flip. If something happens, even something minor, chances are you're not going to find reliable treatment. And getting out, that's assuming flights are running. Roads are open, and nobody decides to stop you along the way. This is one of those places where nothing works smoothly and everything carries risk. And that's why the United States government gives a travel advisory level of 4. And just so you know, 4 is the highest level, and we're at number 15. Number 14, Myanmar. Used to be Burma. Myanmar didn't just have a rough patch. It hit the reset button in the worst way possible. After a military coup in 2021, the country slid into widespread conflict. The military is fighting resistance groups, civilians are caught in the middle, and airstrikes on populated areas have become part of their reality. Sort of like traffic cameras here in the United States, if those traffic cameras had Uzis attached to them and just started firing if you ran a red light. Now you add something here that's a little extra fun. Arbitrary detention. Foreigners can be arrested, questioned, and held with very little explanation. And due process is more of a suggestion than a rule here. Travel here isn't just dangerous because of the bombs and the bullets. It's dangerous because you don't fully understand the rules, and neither does anyone that's actually enforcing the rules. Infrastructure is shaky on a good day. Roads, hospitals, communications, all are very unreliable. You might get into a region just fine, but getting out, that's where the real adventure begins. Sort of like Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland if they actually put in real pirates. So Myanmar isn't just unstable, it's unstable with layers. Their travel advisory level, guess what? It's a 4. Do not travel. Number 13, Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso used to fly under the radar. Not anymore. They've got aspirations. They're shooting for total disgrace. Militant groups have been expanding their reach, and attacks are becoming more coordinated. We're not talking about isolated incidents. We're talking about organized violence hitting both civilians and security forces. I know some hippie girls out there are just thinking these people need more crystals. That's all. It'll fix everything. I don't think crystals are fixing anything here. Large parts of the country are essentially outside government control, which means if something happens, there's no backup plan, no reliable law enforcement, and no safety net. You're on your own. Kidnappings are the real concern here, especially for foreigners. You don't have to be important. You just have to be, seen someplace. Here's the kicker. Even areas that seem calm can change overnight. One week it's quiet, the next there's an attack that makes international news. This is the kind of place where situational awareness isn't enough. You need situational psychic powers. And maybe a teleportation ring if things get weird. And like I said, things get weird here in a hurry. Nobody warns you either. It's not like some militants come to your hotel room, knock on the door and go, hey, tomorrow it's gonna get really weird. You might be running, so stretch out your hammies. Travel advisory level here is 4. Do not travel. Number 12, Libya. Of course, the first question is, why would you want to go to Libya? Libya is what happens when a government collapses and nobody really replaces it. Sort of like taking the tires off your car because you didn't like them. You throw them away and then you try and go to work the next day and you didn't have any new tires. There are multiple factions here, militias and power centers, all operating within their own rules. So depending on where you are, the law, I use air quotes here, might mean something completely different than it did 4 miles away. Armed clashes happen here, sometimes suddenly, sometimes intensely. Civilians get caught and foreigners don't get special treatment because they live in Sonoma wine country. Kidnappings here are a major issue. Criminal groups and militias both play that game, and foreigners can be vulnerable targets. Somewhere not too long ago, these people realized that if they steal all your money and your cell phone, you'll just replace them. But if they take you with your cell phone and your money, someone will send them more money to get you back. So all those people that think they're going to go places and help this country or something like that, what you're doing is potentially putting your family in ruin while they try and gather money to get you back from some jackaloon and his band of married men with AK-47s. Besides all that, they got unexploded ordnance scattered around some areas, basically leftovers from past conflicts that still haven't gotten the memo that the war is over. And if you need help, the US doesn't even have a full in-country presence. They're dealing with a system that barely works for locals, let alone visitors. Libya isn't just dangerous, it's fragmented danger. Guess what? Their travel advisory, level 4, do not travel. Number 11, Russia. Now this one's different. Russia isn't collapsing, it's functioning, just not in the way that's comfortable for Americans right now. The biggest issue here is wrongful detention. You can get arrested and held for reasons that might not make sense to you, and suddenly you're part of something much bigger than yourself. And once that happens, things move slowly, very slowly. Consular support is limited. US diplomatic presence here is reduced, and there's no guaranteed you'll even get access to help quickly or at all. Then there's a broader environment, increased surveillance, stricter enforcement, and a political climate that doesn't exactly favor Americans. You're not dodging bullets here, you're dodging bureaucracy, suspicion, and geopolitics. And honestly, that can be just as dangerous. Because in Russia, once they realize that you're no longer important to them and you serve no real purpose, you tend to jump out of windows. Happens all the time there. Their travel advisory level right now is 4, do not travel. Number 10, Iraq. Iraq has improved in some ways over the years, but improved doesn't mean safe. Terrorist groups still operate, militias still exist, and attacks still happen, including drone strikes and bombings, which are always fun. I mean, nothing's better than a Friday night when you curl up on the couch with a weighted blanket and watch the drone strikes. Right out your window. You just hope it doesn't get too close to the house. And even if you avoid all that, there's the unpredictability. Protests can turn violent, security situations can shift fast, one wrong turn, one wrong place, one wrong day. Infrastructure is a joke. Some areas function fairly well, others not so much. There's not total chaos anymore, but it's unstable enough that you don't want to test your luck here. Their travel advisory level, 4, do not travel. Number 9, Somalia. Somalia is basically the full danger package. Terrorists, check. Kidnappings, check. Piracy, somehow still a thing, check. Militant groups like Al-Shabaab carry out attacks regularly, including in major cities. So even if you think you're staying in a safe area, that safety can disappear quickly. Kidnapping is a major concern here. Foreigners are a high-value target, and there's limited ability to recover hostages. And the government, it exists, but it doesn't control everything. Healthcare is limited unless you count a local shaman that'll try and heal you with a chicken foot and a couple candles. Infrastructure is considered weak, but really it's far below weak, like not a thing. And US support is extremely restricted unless you relocate to Minnesota, I guess. This isn't a place where things go wrong occasionally, it's a place where things go wrong consistently, and that is putting it mildly. You can count on it actually. Their travel advisory to Somalia is level 4, do not travel. Number 8, Lebanon. Again, who really actually goes to Lebanon? Lebanon used to be complicated and manageable. Now it's complicated and volatile. Economic collapse hit first, the political instability, of course, that's always there. And now we got conflict spilling over from the region that has to do with what's going on in Iran. Put all that together and you've got a situation that can escalate fast. Recent strikes, mass casualties, and huge displacement numbers have pushed things in a different category completely. Even basic systems like hospitals are under strain. When there's a surge in violence, they can run out of supplies quickly, and I'm not just talking band-aids. And the travel logistics? Airports can close, roads can become unsafe, and plans fall apart in hours, actually in minutes. This is really nothing new for Lebanon. Lebanon's been a nightmare since forever. So this is just more of the same old stuff that they've always had going on there, just a new flavor each month. The US State Department's travel advisory is level 4, do not travel here. 7. Syria. Syria isn't just dangerous because of one thing, it's dangerous because it has everything happening at once and none of them is under control. In case you don't know, they've had a civil war going on there for quite some time now. It actually began 15 years ago in 2011 as part of the Arab Spring. If you don't know what that was a series of pro-democracy, anti-government protests, uprisings, and armed rebellions that spread across the Arab world in the early 2010s. It all started in Tunisia, which eventually led to that country being overthrown. Theirs has just been going on the longest. Most of them kind of mellowed out. I mean, Jordan had protests, then the government changed, along with Oman, they changed. Bahrain, they eventually changed their government. Libya had their government overthrown. It just went on and on. So you've got a civil war that technically cooled down in some areas, but it's sort of misleading. It didn't end. It just turned into a slower, more unpredictable version of itself. Different regions are controlled by different groups, including government forces, rebel factions, Kurdish groups, and remnants of extremist organizations. That means the rules change depending on where you are, sometimes within a few miles. Terrorism here is very real. ISIS isn't running the show anymore like it used to, but it didn't disappear either. It adapted, it waits, and it hits targets when it can. And when it does, it's not subtle. Then, of course, you have foreign involvement in Syria. Multiple countries have military interests inside the country, which means strikes can come from different directions for different reasons. One day it's retaliation, the next day it's preemptive. And you're sitting there wondering how your hotel just became part of a geopolitical message. Like most of the places on this list, kidnappings here are a major issue, especially to foreigners. That's why Americans should not go to Syria. I don't care if God is sending you there to be a missionary. God isn't going to pay your ransom. You don't have to be a journalist or a high-profile target here to be kidnapped. An American can be just as valuable to the wrong person. And once that happens, there's no local US embassy to help. You're on your own. Their infrastructure is wrecked in many areas. Hospitals are limited, roads can be unsafe or outright destroyed. Even basic services like electricity and clean water aren't guaranteed depending on where you are. The worst part is, there's no clear line between safe and unsafe in this country right now. Hey, guess what? The State Department's travel advisory level for them is 4, do not travel. Number 6, Haiti. Haiti is on the island of Hispaniola, where they split less than half of it with the Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic has about 2/3 of the island, Haiti has the rest, and Haiti is a frickin' nightmare. It's hard to believe people actually vacation to the Dominican Republic with Haiti that close, because this place is ugly. One person described it as everyone's got a machete and an axe to grind in Port-au-Prince, which is their capital. But Haiti is one of those places where people hear Caribbean and they think beaches, and then the reality hits them like a brick through a windshield. This isn't a war zone in a traditional sense. There aren't two armies facing off. What you have instead is something arguably worse for day-to-day life. Widespread gang control. That's what they got going on there. It's not warlords, it's not armies, it's not the government versus some rebel faction, it's gangs. Large parts of the country, especially in Port-au-Prince, are controlled by armed groups. These aren't small-time criminals either. These are organized gangs with weapons, territories, and influence. They control roads, neighborhoods, and in some cases, access to basic resources. The US State Department says that kidnappings are the biggest industry in Haiti right now. You know you're in bad shape where the biggest moneymaker in the entire country is snatching people off the sidewalk. I'm sorry, the dirt road. They don't have sidewalks anymore. So yeah, it's a very unusual business model. There is a government, it struggles to maintain control, and law enforcement is stretched thin, and in most cases, not really eager to do their job. There are certain areas where the police simply don't go. That should tell you everything you need to know about Haiti. Then of course, let's get to their infrastructure, which they have very little of. Fuel shortages, they've got limited medical supplies, overwhelmed hospitals. If something happens to you, getting proper care isn't a thing. Getting some care is still not a guarantee. Even moving around this entire country is dangerous. The trip from the airport to wherever you're staying isn't a casual Uber drive. It's something people actively plan around because routes can become unsafe without warning. Haiti's been like this for a very long time, and there's no hope for their future. I mean, unless some other country literally takes over Haiti, it's going to continue to be like this. It's bad to say, but they need a major country, a superpower, to come in and basically impose martial law on this country and hopefully pull it back together. Because if they keep going the way they're going, it's just, it's escape from New York. They're behind the wall. Whatever happens there, happens there. It's chaos. There's no order. It's a collapsed society for the most part. If you look at the Google Street View, there's more areas in Cuba than there is in Haiti where that vehicle went or where someone posted pictures from. And Cuba has only electricity 4 days a week. The U.S. State Department's travel advisory is level 4. Do not travel to Haiti. Number 5, Ukraine. Ukraine is a very different kind of danger because it's not hidden. It's not subtle. It's very clear what's happening there. It's an active war zone. Missiles, drones, and artillery strikes hit cities across the country, and it's not limited to the front lines. Major urban areas have been targeted repeatedly. Infrastructure like power grids, transportation hubs, and residential buildings have all been hit. You might have some illusion of staying in the safer area. That's a problem. There isn't truly a safe area. There are less dangerous areas, but those can change quickly. The war in Ukraine has been going on since 2014. It really picked up steam though in 2022. Russia originally annexed Crimea, which is when it all started in 2014. They had 8 years of that, and then they decided to spice things up by a full-blown invasion of Ukraine. Air raid sirens aren't background noise here. They're a regular part of life. People adjust to them, but that doesn't make them less serious. Then there's the risk you get too close to a contested region or occupied territory. There have been reports of detention, interrogations, and harassment of foreigners, including Americans, by opposing forces. And access to help in those situations is extremely limited. Transportation can be disrupted. Flights are restricted. Roads and rail lines can be damaged or shut down. Even if you decide to leave, you may not be able to do so quickly. The good news is healthcare is still functioning in many areas, but it's under constant strain. When large-scale attacks happen, hospitals can become overwhelmed fast. Now, Ukraine isn't chaotic in the same way that some of the other countries are on this list. It's structured, but under constant attack, and that makes it incredibly dangerous. Like any war zone. I mean, it's a war zone. Their travel advisories, level 4, do not travel here. Number 4, Yemen. Yemen is another country that's been, they've been in bad shape for a long time, but it really started getting really bad in 2011 with the Arab Spring. Since then, they've had a civil war and 2 governments overthrown. But Yemen is where everything stacks on top of everything else. You've got an ongoing conflict involving multiple factions, airstrikes still happen, armed groups still operate, terrorist organizations still exist within the country. It's not one problem, it's a whole pile of problems. Throw in some landmines and unexploded ordnance, and you've got quite the cocktail of destruction and chaos. Again, like a lot of the places on this list, kidnapping is a serious risk here, especially for foreigners. It's not just criminal groups either. Different factions may see different value in holding on to outsiders for leverage. You may become a human shield. They're not just after the money. They're tired of getting airstrikes against them, so they may keep you as a human shield. But here's where Yemen really separates itself. The humanitarian situation, food shortages, lack of clean water, limited healthcare. The systems that keep people alive are barely functioning in many areas. If you get sick or injured, the challenge isn't the treatment, it's finding the treatment at all. There is no U.S. embassy here. They packed up a long time ago. No reliable support system. If something happens, you're relying on whatever resources are available locally, which means nothing. There's no resources locally for you. Forget it. Never go to Yemen. You know how you take a cruise to different parts of the world? Well, if you decide you're going to go to the Red Sea, it's too close to Yemen. Don't go. If these people could afford a boat or a cannon, they'd shoot it at cruise ships, trust me. It's really one of those countries where everyone just needs to pack up and move out. I mean, even if you look at it from Google Earth view, it doesn't look like they have any greenery in the entire country. Everything's dirt and dust. Everything in Yemen is just broke. And their travel advisory is level 4, do not travel. Number 3, Afghanistan. Afghanistan is one of the hardest places to predict because the danger isn't always obvious. The Taliban control the country, but control doesn't equal stability. It just means one group is in charge and the rules are different everywhere you go. Obviously, we had a war going on there for quite some time. This war started in 2001. Every single year, we lost troops, and for a while there, from 2008 to 2012, we lost double digits every single year, and in some cases, it was well over 100. Even in the 5 years that we spent pulling out of the country, we lost troops. 2016, we lost 9. 2017, we lost 12. 2018, we lost 13. 2019, we lost 17. 2020, we lost 4. And then, of course, the final day of the U.S. involvement in Afghanistan, we lost 13. Funny how people only talk about that last 13. They don't talk about the 1,915 others. But the war there is over and the problems really began. Foreigners, especially Americans, face real risks of detention here. And here's the tricky part. It's not always clear what triggered this arrest. It could be paperwork, it could be suspicion, it could be nothing obvious to anyone at all. They just decided to put you in jail. There have been cases of Americans being held for extended periods, and not all of them were resolved quickly or clearly. Of course, you also have to worry about the presence of extremist groups that still operate in parts of the country today. So even if you avoid those issues with the authorities, there are other threats in play here. Infrastructure is limited, healthcare is inconsistent, travel within the country can be risky due to both security concerns and road conditions. They got a lot of mountains here, and the roads aren't ideal. There is no U.S. embassy in Afghanistan. That means if something goes wrong, you don't have direct access to help from your own government. Of course, their travel advisory is level 4. I don't think I need to say that anymore, but we're on a roll. I think I'm going to keep going with it. Number 2, Iran. Iran is a completely different kind of danger. It's not about random violence. It's about calculated risk. If you don't know, we've been bombing the hell out of it for about a month now. And to say that the people of Iran are not happy with us is a major understatement. Americans face a high likelihood of wrongful detention, and this isn't speculation. It's been documented repeatedly. People are arrested, held, and sometimes used as leverage in a broader political negotiation. It's not just a tourist thing. Anyone, if you're married to a Persian woman and you're living in Iran, you could be arrested tomorrow just for being an American. There is no U.S. embassy here either, which complicates everything. Communication goes through third parties, which slows things down and limits what can be done. The legal system here operates differently, and due process isn't something you can count on in the way you might expect. Now, there's also a broader regional tension. When things escalate politically or militarily, the environment inside the country can shift quickly, and that can affect how foreigners are treated. Day-to-day life in some parts of Iran might seem normal. People go about their routines, cities function, but underneath that layer is a risk that specifically applies to Americans. They've got a travel advisory of 4. We're going to give them a 4.5, even though it's not a thing, because this place is dangerous. Don't travel there. All right, before we get to number 1, what do you think about this video? Let me know in the comment section below. Give it a big thumbs up. Maybe even watch one of the videos that's being suggested at the end of this video. That helps out a lot. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Sudan. Sudan is the worst case scenario playing out in real time. This isn't low-level unrest. It's a full-scale conflict with widespread violence, including attacks on civilians. Entire areas have been devastated. Reports of mass casualties, strikes on hospitals, and even large-scale displacement are part of the current reality here. The country is essentially split between competing forces, and fighting can occur in urban areas, which makes it even more dangerous. The U.S. Embassy here is closed. That's a huge deal. It means there's no direct support inside the country. If you're there and something goes wrong, there isn't a system in place to help you. Now, their infrastructure has taken a massive hit. Healthcare is extremely limited in many areas. Access to food, water, and basic services is inconsistent at best. Movement is dangerous. Roads can be unsafe. Checkpoints can be unpredictable and expensive and dangerous. Might just shoot you if you don't have money. And even if you try to leave, evacuation is extremely difficult. Millions of people need humanitarian aid here, which tells you how widespread this crisis is. This isn't localized, it's national. It's taking up the whole country. So bad, South Sudan broke away. They were tired of their nonsense, and South Sudan's not doing much better anyway. Sudan isn't just dangerous for Americans, it's dangerous for anyone that lives there, anyone that's visiting there, anyone that actually thinks about going there. You're putting yourself in danger. If you want to put yourself in that kind of danger, just make yourself a suit out of $20 bills and go wander around Southside Chicago. It's the same danger level. Alright, that's today's video. If you enjoyed this one, you probably enjoy one of the two videos being suggested right now, especially this one about forgotten cities in the United States. Cincinnati. It's a great video. Alright everyone, have a great day. Be nice to each other.